Party, A3P. I did that last week. I did not vote for Romney or Obama. I don't vote for Zionist presidential candidates. And I feel clean. You know, what's his name? The black singer, James Brown used to say, I'm clean. I'm clean. Well, I'm clean too. Because I'm not voting to see more Arabs getting murdered and more white soldiers getting murdered over there in the Middle East in order to protect the borders of Israel when we don't even protect our own friggin' borders.
That's right. Now, I have another problem too. You know, many years ago, I interviewed some people from the Aryan Nations, and Edgar Steele is a victim of that. He defended the Aryan Nations, and then he spoke out about race and about the Jews, and they put him in prison for life.
Yeah, it was a setup. I was at his hearings. I was there.
Yes, sir. That's one of the reasons I brought that up, because you were there, and you know, I'm asking myself, now, if you can join the NAACP, if you can join the ADL, if you can join the Jewish Defense League, why couldn't I join the Aryan Nations without being called a racist and demonized and attacked at every turn of the page? Why not? Why not, folks? I mean, can't you ask yourself that? It's like suddenly being demonized because you're going to a white church. It's I have a real hard time getting a grasp on the psychology of the American people. Now, it is quite possible that this is going a lot deeper. I mean, we talked about the vibrational energies. We talked about the smart meters. We've talked about the cell phones. I mean, you can pop popcorn with cell phones. You know, what's it doing to your brain? And we are probably the most drugged people on earth, and it ain't from, well, I'm not talking about cocaine and heroin and marijuana here, which isn't a drug. I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. They want to give you Valium because you're a little bit nervous and upset. Well, here, take this pill. Well, there's only a 200,000% markup on it, so we're certainly going to make money, and we're going to be able to advertise this on the Super Bowl. We're going to, we'll advertise this Luvox, we'll advertise. We are being drugged, and they did the same thing to the Chinese when they installed Mao Zedong, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, what, you know, Clayton, the best knowledge, the things that I've learned the most is when I actually try out some of my theories. Like, I grew up and I was a Barry Goldwater supporter, and then they were about ready to send my ass to Vietnam, and like I said, luckily I didn't have to go. I know you went, and it's a tragedy that guys like you went over there and your buddies died, and you know, it almost brings tears to my eyes. I'm sure it brings tears to your eyes because it's horrific.
Let me correct you on one thing. I volunteered for Vietnam February 17th, 1964. But in my last week of training, I volunteered for Special Forces Airborne. In my last week of training, I went through their little vaccination room, and a week later I was dying of spinal meningitis. When they sent telegram to my mother, she drove from Fort Worth to Fort Polk, Louisiana, to come see me for the last time in the hospital. And when I heard her footsteps in the hallway, I came back from that tunnel. I came back from the light and came back to see her. She saved my life. When the chaplain came in and said, well, son, it looks like you're going to make it. We can have you on that next plane to Vietnam. We can have you in the next graduating class. We can get you on that plane to Vietnam. I said, you know, Father, I'll never follow the orders of imbeciles and idiots again. Best thing you can do is get me out. From this day on, I'll never salute and I won't follow any orders. If I could get out of bed and walk, I'd walk out that gate right now. And after I finally got out of the wheelchair, after I finally got out of the hospital, they kicked me out of the Army. Well, we can send you to Fort Hood, son, and get you a medical discharge and get you a pension. I don't think you understand. I don't want nothing from the government, this government. I don't want it. I don't want nothing from you. And so they got me out 6 days, 7 days before all of my veterans benefits came due. So I didn't go over there, but I think it's and this is one of my causes, folks. I've got stuff up there on the website that'll tell you how you can help prevent the fact and the coming suicides that Ted Turner says it's a good thing that all these veterans are because he's a communist, and that's a communist news network that he owns. He thinks it's a good thing that veterans are committing suicide. I think it's a national tragedy that more Vietnam vets, more of my brothers that went to Vietnam, have died since they got home by suicide. That is a national tragedy, and this is one of the things that we need to fix when we kick these Zionist and dual citizens out of positions of power in Homeland Security, Congress, and the Senate. My opinion. And my guest today, by the way, is StanHess. Just another guy, no website, just another guy that I happen to know and respect his opinion. Just another white guy like me.
That's it. I do want to mention I'm on the Countercurrents Network now. I do a show once a week, and it's archived, my past shows. So, you know, like Clayton says, I'm just another white guy. You know, I used to be a cab driver. I used to be a bus driver. I used to deliver magazines for Harris County News Company in Houston. I was a bus driver for San Francisco Muni in San Francisco for 3 years. And then I was a bus driver for Golden Gate Transit, going across the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm just a working guy. And, you know, talking about the problem and where the problem is, these self-loathing, not Hispanic white folks that live in places like River Oaks in Houston, Memorial in Houston, Royden Oaks in Houston, Highland Park in Dallas, and I can't think of the real posh area, Alamo Heights in San Antonio, and I'm sure Austin has the same places. Those people haven't helped us at all. These rich white folks are pathetic. They are part of the problem. They do not fund us. They won't talk to us on the street because they're cowards. They don't stand up for European American people. All they want is greed. It's called the Bernie Madoff syndrome. It's all about the money, and they don't care whether white working people get laid off and the jobs go overseas and goes to the third world. They don't care if white soldiers get murdered, because it's all about them working with the Zionists, working with the Talmudists, those Upper East Side Manhattan Zionists, Upper West Side Zionists. And they can be Jewish or Christian, but predominantly Jewish. And they run the world. They run this so-called Federal Reserve, printing money, counterfeit money. That's how they can sustain this operation, is because they keep printing money. But eventually, the chickens are going to come home to roost.
Now, let me share a quote, one of my favorites, from one of the few heroes that I have, and that's Thomas Jefferson. He said, if you ever allow a private bank to print your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered. We've got over 1 million families that are homeless in this country right now, because the let's see, we bailed the banks out, and the banks. And why didn't George Bush just give that $2 trillion to the people? Let them pay off their homes. They would have paid off the banks, and we would have had our farms back. And by the way, I want to touch on my other pet subject here. And folks, you do have a choice in this election. You do have a choice, because Governor Gary Johnson, in whose office, when he was governor, I started the militias in New Mexico, in his office, he is running for president. He would legalize hemp growing in this country. They stole a $1 trillion crop from the American people by calling hemp marijuana. They stole it from us, folks. They took away. You can grow hemp in Red China, 10,000 products made out of it. We can buy it from Red China. And if you can, if a man with a badge can walk up to you and say, "Huh, what's that I smell? Oh, is that marijuana?" Whoa, you're going to go to jail. We've got more Americans in jail, white and black, for drugs that they've when it ain't even a drug. I mean, it's the plant of renown talked about in the Bible. And if a man with a badge can come up and put you in jail for smoking one of God's plants, you know, they could put you in jail for growing the wrong tomatoes too. And that's a police state. You're in a police state if that can happen. And welcome to home of the free and the brave, right? And, you know, I don't care whether you smoke it or not. I don't care. It doesn't make me any difference. I don't care whether you're on Valium or not. You know, as long as, you know, you shouldn't be driving if you're taking Valium. You know, if you're taking these pharmaceutical medicines. And even the, now when I started writing a novel about this 40 years ago. About a time in the future when marijuana was legal, when drugs, when there were all laws against victimless crimes had been abolished, and America was truly the land of the free and the home of the brave. And now it's legal in 16 states. I can go to California, visit my friends in Los Angeles, walk down the boardwalk on Venice, in Venice Beach, and smoke a joint. Nobody thinks anything about it. Nobody says anything about it. That's progress, but it ain't enough. Why should I have to go to a Jewish doctor and get his permission, pay him to write me a prescription for something I can grow in my backyard? I find that, to me, we haven't made the proper steps. Gary Johnson would change that if anybody knew about him. And, you know, some comments on that, Stan.
Well, I think any third-party candidate is good, because what you're doing is you're sticking your middle finger up in the air, and you're saying, screw you. I'm not voting for the Manhattan Borough Network's favorite candidate. I don't know if you saw that the end of that last debate. I couldn't sit through that garbage, because they're not talking about the fact that whites are going to be an ethnic minority in this country. But here you have Obama and Romney, well, I like to refer to him as old Romney, hugging and kissing each other. These guys don't have any different interests. They're both supported by that same group. There was a book out, I think it was by a guy named Goldberg, talking about Jewish power. And it was talking about most of the money that goes towards financing candidates comes from the Jewish community. And in fact, I don't know what the percentage is, but a huge percentage of the money that goes to support national candidates, or whether it's presidential candidates, I don't know, comes from the upper west side of Manhattan. So we know where the power is. Can you imagine if Texans, Texas Protestants, ran the media? and everything had to go through the Texas Protestant filter. Could you imagine the rest of the country screaming? They should. But why do we turn over the control of the media to one select group who may not be out front with that little microphone in their ear reading the news? They're there behind the scenes, running it, producing it, financing it, and we never see their fat asses out there in front of the screen.
Yeah, and if you look at watch the presidential debates between Romney and Obama, be sure and try to notice the little microphone there that's camouflaged in Obama's ear. Now, you just hit on my other pet peeve here. We have put, the American people have put over $1 billion into the pockets of these politicians, Republicans and Democrats. $1 billion this year for an election between two Zionists. Where did that money go? Oh yeah, it went to the media. The Republican and Democratic parties gave it to the television and the radio stations, like Clear Channel, Rush Limbaugh being on, it's on Clear Channel, owned by Bain Capital, owned by Mitt Romney. We put $1 billion into the pockets of these media companies that are selling you the drugs, that are telling you which Zionist candidate you can vote for. And I'm sorry, I've got to do a little musical interlude because we can put this all together here in this next little musical interlude, folks. While I'm heating my coffee up. Ray Wylie Hubbard for you folks. Texas. Screw you. We're from Texas. All right. That's enough of that.
I like it. That's that fierce Texas independence. I love it.
That's right, and we still have the right. You know, if you want to see what the future may look like, try looking up Jericho, the TV series, where Texas is the last stand of a free country after nuclear attacks on America. Great series. Didn't last long, but it's a great series. And
Clayton, I want to jump in here with something. People keep talking, and you've heard this too, all about the media. Well, folks, Clayton's show is the media. My show on countercurrents is the media. American Renaissance is the media. Occidental Observer is the media. There are so many websites out there. I want to mention some films. G. Edward Griffin, who has educated me about the Federal Reserve about 15 years ago, but it took about 5 years ago before it finally clicked in. That's how brainwashed I was about how important that is. His group, Free Mind Films, has produced this documentary called A Noble Lie about the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. It's an incredible film, folks. Support our own people. Also, Dreams from My Real Father. This was produced by a Jewish guy named Joel Gilbert. And this is talks about the real father of Barack Hussein Obama, who was Franklin Marshall Davis. Get this film. Some of you saw 2016 Obama's America. I saw it in the movie theaters, and then I bought the DVD on Amazon.com. It's an incredible film. Why? Because it's my opinion that 2016 Obama is the 21st century version of D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation. But the people that produce this, their nation is the Zionist nation. And what this film tells you is that the only people that can criticize Barack Obama is a dark-skinned immigrant from India. We white people could not have said on that film that was in your movie theaters all over the country what Dinesh D'Souza said. And again, that fits in with this whole Jewish thing of we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of laws, folks. And that is the Jewish wet dream, which is immigrants from all over the world. The 1965 immigration bill, which changed the ethnic content of this country by bringing in millions of people who are not European Americans. There's a book called Importing Revolution. You can buy it off of Amazon.com. It's written by William R. Hawkins. And it talks about how the Ford Foundation financed all these radical groups like La Raza and Black Power groups. You do not have revolutions without money. You would not have had the Bolshevik Revolution without the money from the international bankers. You would not have had the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War, wars of genocide, wars of Eurocide, the extermination of white people by us fighting each other, by killing Arabs. This is all done in the interest of not justice and freedom or anything else. It's in the interest of Big Bagel. That's what's going on, folks. And if we don't, as a people, get wise and start helping each other. I want to tell a lot of people say, oh, what are we going to do? Well, I can tell you what you can do is conduct yourself in public like gentlemen and women and help each other out. If there's a white person out there that needs help, help them. I do this all the time up here. I have an apple tree in my backyard, and about 3 weeks ago I started taking all the apples down and I give them to all my friends, and then I keep the rest myself. I help people that are in need who are white. It's called outreach, folks. That's what Clayton is doing on his program. That's what I do. But in my personal life, I help other white people. But also, I help myself by trying to stay as healthy as I can. Eating right. Dressing so that I look okay. And treating people with respect. But at the same time, if people get up in my face and say disapprovingly that you do not have a right in this country to have European American Heritage Month, or to have a white caucus, or a white student union, or a NAACP, Association for White Folks. We are a diverse people. We are a people that should be treated with respect. There's a website called resistingdefamation.org. It is a great website because it talks about the ongoing campaign of defamation against European American people. And when Resisting Defamation first started, one of the founders wrote this up. I am a good, warm-hearted person. I am part of the great diaspora of Europeans to the North American continent. We are a good, warm-hearted people. We are generous, and we deserve respect. This is a prescription for low self-esteem as a European American. Tape this message to your bathroom mirror and repeat its 4 sentences 10 times while brushing your hair. You will feel better about your day. Again, this is our community organization, folks. This is and none of us are getting any money for this. We're all doing this because we care. And I'm 68 years old, and by God, I'm going to continue to fight for the rights, legitimate rights, of European peoples worldwide. Whether they live in Russia, South America, Mexico, and yes, folks, there are people called European Mexicans, okay? The other side has split us up into Catholics, Protestants, Libertarians, Conservatives, Green Party. None of the other ethnic groups have those labels. They're just black folks, brown folks, Latinos, Asians, American Indians, okay? They all are organized by these kosher financiers, by these Manhattan borough networks, okay? Nobody is going to help us. The people in River Oaks in Houston are not going to help us. Memorial of Houston, Spring Branch in Houston, they're not going to help us. Alamo Heights, they aren't going to help us. In Dallas, the same thing. The rich folks of Dallas or Fort Worth, they ain't going to help us. They're all about greed.
I want to put in a point here that based on what you're saying here. You know, folks, 9 years ago, I had Free American, I had Thunder Riders, I had 2 books ready to go to print, I had a worldwide shortwave radio show. I was doing quite well, maybe better than Alex Jones, because I've always told you the truth here. And they tried to kill me and tried to stop me. I had one of my magazines sold after I got out of the hospital, after being drugged for 3 months. I had one of my magazines sold for $500,000, and I still retained half of it, 50% of it. $1 million company, and we signed a contract on Thursday. They put a press release out on Wall Street on Friday. Monday I walked in the CEO's office, and he's white and shaking, and the stock's dropping like a rock. They've contacted somebody has contacted every stockholder in the company to tell them what a white, racist, radical, anti-Semite you are. And as soon as they say anti-Semite, you know it comes from the well-financed hate groups like ADL and Southern Poverty Law. And I tried for months, for years, to restore that magazine that was distributed in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all across the country. I tried for years to do that. I couldn't do it. So I sat down and wrote a book about it, Mystery Babylon, The New World Order Unveiled. And I finished my other 2 books in my series, but I don't have a distributor. All I've got is the internet. I'm blocked on the internet, in libraries, Office Depot, Intel, Intuit. I'm blocked. You can't get to the Free American in those public places. Now, why? You know, that's what they try to do to porno sites, I guess, because I've got Protocols of Elders of Zion on my website somewhere. So you can read what they wrote about 200 years ago that's happening today. I'm somehow blocked in all of these places. They don't want you to know the truth. I've looked